It's a good Tuesday afternoon, and welcome back to my channel. So, yesterday I went over a little clip for Amir, but I was kind of watching it, and I've been over this before, so I kind of figured he might be able to find the older video, but I'm gonna go over it real quick, and it's not gonna take long. So what you kind of have to understand here is when you're playing in the modes, right? If you're going to approach playing in the modes, each chord, right, has a mode associated with it. 7. How many notes do we have? There's like 12, right? But you have 7 that are not flat or sharp. It's A, B, C, D, E, F, G, right? The key of G major has one F sharp, and that's it. So, where I'm going with that is, I'm going to turn this thing on, and then I'm going to turn the looper off for now. But for you to understand basic, like this is going to be basic, like, okay, because this is kind of how you're going to get this is all about playing lead guitar. Okay, but when you know if you know you're in G major, you know G is your 1, right? 1, that means G's the tonic, right? So it goes basically like this. I'm gonna take it off the distortion for just a minute. Okay, so once again, sorry for the interruption. So we're in G major, right? And G major has a relative minor, which would be G, A, B, C, D, and E. So it's 6 degrees away, right? Or 3 back. But just don't worry so much about that right now. So when we're talking about G major, G is our tonic, okay? Tonic means it's your number 1 note, right? Okay? And so you have your G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, G. You're back to the G. Okay? And then it just repeats. So then it would be 1, then it would be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1. Right? Then it would be 1. So the whole point of that is it's an exercise, okay? And you can do it. What's cool about the guitar is like there's endless possibilities. So you've seen me just play it up and down, right? Now you can go G, A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, G. So then we just did it on the E string, right? So I've shown you 2 ways, right? All we're working with is 7 notes, and then it's repeating. That's the way the modes work, okay? Now, to get into it a little bit further, each mode has a chord associated with it, right? Okay, this is where you get into the numbers game where people get confused. You don't need to get confused. So you have your G major, we'll play it here, right? That's our 1, okay? And then our second is going to be G. After G comes A, right? A, B, C, D, E, F, G. So we start over. A, so it would be mess that all up, so I'll edit that out. But so after your initial Ionian, that's G, right? And here's our G chord. They go together, right? So then we know our 2 and our 3 are going to be minor, right? So what's after G? It's A, correct? So then we're going to go here. We're going to go so it should be A minor, right? Because the major chord shape, or the major chord progression is major, minor, minor, major, major, minor, half diminished. You gotta know that, you gotta burn that in your head so you understand how to write music. Everything's based off the major scale. So, see how that kind of goes? Okay, so there's our first flat. So, now we're gonna go to B, right? Which is gonna be Phrygian. Actually, I should say it's going to be B Phrygian, right? Yeah, because C is Lydian. So B Phrygian. Okay, so the whole point of this exercise is for you to be able to hear the relationship between the scale and the chord that goes with it, right? So once again. Right? So B to C should be B. Hear that? Happy? That's sad. Happy. That's another thing you gotta pick up on. You gotta understand that, the difference between a major chord and a minor chord. So we know that our Phrygian, right? G, A, B Phrygian. Okay, so then our next, basically our next pattern is going to be Lydian, right? So I think we're going to go back to that's going to be a major because it's a fourth, right? It's our fourth chord. 1, 4, 5 major, 2, 3, 6 minor, 7 half diminished. Yeah. So there we have our, basically we have Lydian, right? And we have our C chord that goes with C Lydian. So then we're going to go to D, right? Okay, and this is when you're going to move up. Hear that? Happy, sad. Happy, sad. right, so we're up to D, right? Our next, we're gonna move up one more, right, to our next position, which is gonna be after D, it's E. And what did we say about E earlier? E is the relative minor, right? So we know it's going to be, here's E on the 12th fret, right? It's automatically going to be the same string name when you get to the 12th fret, because everything like starts over. So, major, minor, minor, major, major, minor. Yeah, this is gonna be minor chord. Sad, right? So it might have been a little bit rough, but I went through each chord shape, right? And the mode that goes with it. Locrian is and some kind of weird pattern, like sounds very dissonant, so that's why you don't hear it. That's why people don't really ever play it and you don't hear it much, because it's very dissonant. It's too far away. If the chords get either too close together or too far away, they sound dissonant, right? And it'll sound off, and it's very hard to resolve on it's hard to resolve on a diminished, chord, or even a diminished run almost. It's hard, you know? So with that being said, now I didn't spend a bunch of time shredding away, right? I'm giving you some theory, okay? So this is like you need to know this. So like I said, in videos I did a lot earlier, I'm doing this just for Amir because, I know that maybe he doesn't have time to go through all the old videos and find it, but once again, it's just we have G, right? A, B, C, D, E, F sharp, then we're back to G, okay? That's how when you're playing, if you do that, if you're playing from G to G, you should be able to do that, and every note should line up right where it's supposed to, right? So if you go G, A, B, and you're like, wait, that doesn't sound right. Well, then you need to go back and look, because you're gonna play it like this. But you're also gonna play it like this. So you see that this is where you have all the different, you have, this is why when you see a lot of guitar players and they have a second guitar player, and you're like, how are they doing that? Because this guy's playing, a G here. Another guy's playing a G here. So they all have a little bit of a different tonal characteristic, and it does matter, right? Because that's how a lot of the 80s stuff was done. They would just play the same chord, only, here's D right here. D. So you can play D here. So sad, happy. While your partner's playing it right here. So that's where a lot of these things that people don't understand is it's not that hard to figure out how to play, have harmony with another guitar player, unless he's just stubborn and doesn't understand, the basic rules of the major scale. because that's where all this comes from, right? The major scale. So like I said, you have your Ionian. I want to tell you one more thing after I go after this, and then I'm going to put it up and we're going to be done. But this will give you Amir and anyone else who really needs to have a better understanding of it, they will. So, and then we have right, that's our C. Then we're gonna have right, so now we're at D. Oh, that was D Mixolydian, right? Then we're gonna go to E Aeolian. Then the only thing left is your Locrian. Something like this. Like I said, it's kind of weird. And then, just to throw this in, so you don't, some people start talking about 1 4 5s and 2 3 6s, you don't get confused. This is our 1, G, right? Our 2 is A, right? Our 3 is B. Okay? Following me? 4 is C, 5 is D, 7 is going to be E, and then 4 is going to be F sharp, and then we're back to G on the D string on the 5th fret, right? So, where this is going to matter is when you're playing with someone and you're like you're writing a song, or you're trying to come up with ideas. G's your 1, okay? So if you take off and you call G your 4, it's not gonna work. It's just everything's gonna get messed up, right? There's an order. That's why I showed you that. I counted it out so you could see that G is number 1. So technically, if you take off on your A, it's going to be 2. So you're going to go 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 1. If you did this, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. See what I'm saying? You've already messed up the pattern. You already messed up the mode because you started off calling it a 1 when it's actually your 2. That's why it's easy. Once you've studied and listened to a lot of music for many years, your ears will tell you when you'll be able to figure out what key it's in, but it does take a little bit of time and some effort. So with that being said, hopefully, Amir, that kind of gives you a little more to go on, and just watch this little video over and over, and you'll see how everything I'm saying makes sense. You'll figure it out. It just takes time. You don't want to, it can always take time, and you can always just, like I did for a long time. So I'm gonna wrap that up. I'll put something else out later, but I just want you, for anyone that doesn't understand the whole numbers thing, I just kind of laid it right out there for you, right? You can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, back to 1. So, and that's using Ionian, or the major scale. I don't want to confuse you guys anymore, so I'm going to stop there. But anyway, thanks to all new subscribers. I totally appreciate it. Um, and I'll be seeing you guys again soon. So I'm going to post this whole thing probably. I'm not going to edit it. I mean, I may edit one little part out that I messed up in the beginning, but other than that, it's pretty solid. So, a lot of good info, especially for beginners. It's good to understand. You have to understand the major scale and the major chord progression. They have relations to each other that are never going to change, right? So you got to remember that. You're not just going to play something that no one's ever not played. Trust me, everything's been played you can think of. It's how you choose to play it and how you choose to mix the chords or change the chords or substitute the chords or use parallel chords. There's a lot of things you can do, but like I said, this is just basic 101. So have a good rest of your week, and I will see you guys again soon. Thank you. Have a good night.